Hi, welcome back to Military Brats podcast.
We're your host. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Juliana. Chloe, I was just thinking about the other day, how the military has impacted all of our relationships, friendships, boyfriends, parents,
Yeah.
things like that. And I would love to hear your take on how, where it all began. Where do you think that first impact came from?
Oh my God, it is so crazy to think. Like you and me, we talk about this all the time. I talk about this with my mom, my brother, and I feel like it all leads back to the military. Obviously I don't want to say all my problems come from the military, but it all leads back to the military.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is very similar to you too. Like we said, our parents divorced and we have a dad obviously, and then they remarried people who were in the military, and once you do that you kind of just start moving with them,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously that they take you away from like everything because you're moving from state to state. And I think it was really hard because when that happened I kind of lost my relationship with my biological dad because I
Mm-hmm.
was living in a whole different state and he was in one state, and it's just like, how am I going to continue a relationship with you when I'm so young? So
Yeah.
I think that was kind of the root of it for me, is I think I had a very, very big disconnect with my father at such a young age. And daddy issues is a
Yeah.
real thing. It
Daddy
doesn't get any easier. What about you? What happened with you?
Yeah. I would say it's like pretty very, very, very similar to your story. So of course my parents had divorced as well, and I was always like a daddy's girl. Like I
Yeah.
loved my dad. And honestly, like I feel like the first couple of years he did try to stay in my life. Like he honestly visited
Yeah.
me quite often. Probably not as often as he was legally supposed to, or things like
Yeah.
that, but I do remember like him coming to visit me. Like he like checked me out early from school, and like so we could like hang out with him, me and my sister both. And then even when my family and I had moved to South Carolina, at the time I believe he was stationed somewhere in Oklahoma or something like
Mhm.
that, and he had driven all the way from Oklahoma to South Carolina just to visit me and my sister.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like he definitely made the effort, and I think where the disconnect happened was when it just like kind of started fading out. Like he stopped visiting us less, and then it came to us texting him and us calling him, and then that kind of phased out, and then it came to just birthday cards, and then that kind of phased out, and then it was just
Wow.
Christmas cards, and then that kind of phased out.
Yeah.
So I
Would
feel like
you
it was kind of like all over the place.
would you say that he pulled himself away from you? It wasn't
Yeah.
like you guys. Obviously, you guys have no choice in moving away. But
Mhm.
he didn't, so he kind of just stopped trying essentially more
Yeah.
towards the end. Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, yeah. I mean, I till this very day, like I'm still very much. I feel like I kind of give him more credit than I should.
Yeah.
And I only say that because it's definitely a very sensitive topic for me to talk about. Like even now, like it's hard for me to talk about because I just feel like because I was such a like daddy's girl that
Yeah.
it's kind of like I still want that. Like I still want to be able to see the good in him, and I still want to like give him the credit that he deserves. And so for me, I kind of think of it as how, I mean, it must be
He did the
hard for
best
him.
he could. He did the best he
Yeah.
could with the circumstance he was given, and
Hmm.
I think I try to see the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think I my dad, I think he tried. I think, like we said, it was such a young age. I think it's really hard to navigate, like, what happened, what didn't happen. Is it just in my head? Was my dad trying or was
Yeah.
he not trying? I don't really know. But because we moved, I didn't see my biological dad for 3 years, and that was, like, a crucial time period. It was 3 years, it was middle school. So,
Hmm.
he saw us before we left to North Carolina, but then that whole period, I didn't see him until, like, 8th grade year. So I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
I
Yeah.
changed so much within 3 years. That's a big time. Um, so I think that was really hard for me, and then even then when I was younger, I think I had a lot of issues come from that because I think he was so young, like we said, he was 20 years old, so he had his own life going on, and then he kind of got a free pass essentially. You know what I'm like? My
Yeah.
mom remarried, he kind of didn't have to take on as much responsibility. I think he kind of went with that.
Mhm.
And like today to this day, I don't fault him for that because thinking about me having a child right now and like I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. So
Mhm.
but I did think a lot of trauma happened because he made a lot of promises he couldn't keep. And I think that has
Yeah.
really impacted my relationships today, friendships and like intimate relationships.
Yeah, I would say that I think like that like my relationship with my dad has affected like mine and my boyfriend's relationship more than it has affected friendships. Like I'm a
Yeah.
very much like I feel like I think it's more of like abandonment issues too. Like
Yeah.
somebody's just gonna abandon me because that's exactly what happened. Like although it didn't happen like as like fast, like it wasn't just like they divorced and that's it. Like it was a very like phased out over time. Like it kind
Yeah.
of just like gradually just like stopped happening. And I always thought, like he would come back, like type of
Yeah, it
thing.
almost would have been easier, I feel like, if you just stopped. Just stopped right away
Mm-hmm.
because I think there was a lot of, like, hope. Like,
Yeah.
he kind of strung you guys along in a sense, and I think, like, you obviously being a daddy's girl, you kinda, like, held on to that and you were, like, tight grip,
Yeah.
and then I think the moment he, like, just stopped, I think it really broke your heart, and I think it did impact your relationships just from seeing you, like,
Yeah.
have relationships in high school, I think you pushed guys away before they could break up with you or leave you. And
Yeah.
not to, like, dive into your, like, head, Juliana, but I think, like,
No,
I've
that's fine.
noticed those traits about you, and you've done that all of your relationships up until Eric because he's just like he shuts her down. He
Yeah.
shuts her
He
down. He's
does
like
shut it down.
he's like, "Don't
He's
talk
like
to
he's
me."
Yeah, he's very much like, okay, if you're gonna like if you're gonna come at me with that bullshit, go somewhere else. Like I understand
No.
what you're trying to say, but just like I'm not dealing with it because I know that's not exactly how you feel. And I feel like that's kind of just like a coping mechanism that I kind of want to give them like the worst of it at the very like at the front
Yeah.
end. Like I just want to like, kind of bomb them with like, yep, if you're gonna be with me, this is what you're gonna deal with, just to see what they're gonna stay for and what they're gonna leave for type of thing, which
Yeah.
isn't fair to them and it's not fair to me at the same time, but it's like I would rather them leave sooner than later type of thing.
No, I agree. And I mean, I give Eric's kudos because sometimes you are a lot to work.
I
But
am a
you know
lot of
what? He
work
stays.
at
He
times.
stays through it all. He stays through it all, and we love Eric for that. So,
Yeah,
that's
Eric's the
really
same.
good in my opinion. He is a saint. He literally is a saint.
It's the same. I want to talk about you and Trent. Tell me about you and Trent a little bit.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Do you see like any of those like issues kind of pop up?
Yeah. Oh, I think in the beginning for sure because we've been different in this aspect. I think you've always been more of a like serial dater and I've always been a more of a
Mhm.
like let me just I don't want to do that. It's never been in my
Yeah,
cards and I think that's because we've coped a little bit differently. Like I avoid it and I think you've kind of ran into it. You kind of want that
yeah.
and I've
I
never been
think
that. Go ahead.
yeah. I think what it is I would rather I think I just like seek out so many relationships, like whether it's friendships or like actual relationships, just because
Yeah.
I feel like I always need somebody there to be with me, and that's something that I've learned. Like being with Eric is like that's not the case. You don't need to have 10 million friends for you to feel happy. As long as you have those people, even if it's one person or two people or three people, as
Yeah.
long as you have those people around you that lift you up and make you feel happy, you don't need to like have these kind of like pointless and like nilly willy relationships, I want to say.
No, I agree. I almost feel like you were trying to fill a void, and I think you did that throughout high school. But like, I think you
Hmm.
live and you learn, and I think you learned in college too. You were just like, I think Eric. Don't want to make Eric's head big, but I think he like taught you a lot of life lessons essentially, and
I think he did too.
I'm grateful for that because I think your mentality kind of switched, which is good.
It it switched. It was like a full 180. I definitely think so. And like even me and Eric kind of talk about this because he was saying like so some background. Me and Eric met freshman year of college. Like he was probably the very first person I met. And ever since we met, we just like instantly clicked. We've been friends ever since. And we kind of like messed around with each other freshman year. And then nothing really came out of it until the next year, sophomore year, we actually kind of decided to like spend more time with it. And then we started dating.
Yeah,
And like even now, we've always said like if we started dating freshman year, it just wouldn't have worked out because of like the mentality I was in, where I was just like, I just want to do what I want to
yeah.
do. I want to meet the people I want to meet. If I like this guy better, I'm gonna go with that guy and type of like that type of
Yeah, no,
mentality that isn't really fair. Yeah.
you were living your college life. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I never even answered your question. I guess.
We'll
Um,
answer it.
yeah, I know. Well, I'll answer it now. Well, now that you guys know that we our personalities, up until Trent, I didn't date anyone. He was my first serious boyfriend. Right at, I think I turned 20 right when I met him. I think around that time period. So I've never really been into relationships up until him, and it was a very big adjustment just because our upbringings are very very different. And he was born and raised in the same place. I've lived everywhere. My parents are strict. My parents are divorced. He came from a household with like parents that were together. Like I just think there was a lot of like differences, but in the end
Hmm.
we worked out. We've been together for 2 years now, but I do find myself having some toxic moments. And we've had to work through that like the like the phrases like I feel like I've done this to you too, Julian. I'll make a comment and I make you feel
Yeah.
irreplaceable or replaceable, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not replaceable. You can't make me feel like that. And I'm like, I don't mean
Yeah.
to say that. I just think like in my head, it's just like I can replace anyone, but like obviously I
Hmm.
can't. But it's just like I think that's my coping mechanism. I'm just like if I don't want to let anyone know that they mean that much, and that's really really bad of me.
Yeah. I think that is one big thing I've noticed with you is that it's really hard for you to let people in. Like I feel like
Yeah,
you let them in to a certain point as and then once you see that they're kind of penetrating that wall, it's kind of just like nope, you shut it
yeah,
down and it's like okay, bye. Like I'll see you later. And I think that does go back to us moving every so often because it's like why would you even let somebody in to that super like close space
yeah,
if you're
yeah,
just going to move in the next 2 to 3 years or 3 to
yeah.
4 years, however long it may be.
And that's just friendship. So like my relationship was a whole new thing, and it's been really hard for me to navigate like that relationship because the only besides him, you are the closest person I'm with. Do you know what I mean? I've and my
Yeah.
obviously my mom, but like and it took you and me 7 years to get to this point.
Mhm.
And yeah, sometimes I'm not the best. Sometimes I'll make comments like I did graduate from high school, from college, and I don't want to live in Fresno forever. And I've made comments like, if our relationship doesn't work out, I'm like out of here. And I feel like I'm putting that in my head and I'm putting that in his head. And he's just like, he came to me one time and he's like, are you really going to leave me once you graduate? Right before I
Oh,
graduated. And I was just like, oh, fuck. Did I really make you feel that way? Because
yeah.
that's just so shitty.
Yeah, I think what it is I think you're more of like a words person. Like your words hit way deeper than I
Yeah.
think than you
Yeah.
intend to. I think when you're very upset, it's like, yep, I know that I can say really hurtful things and I'm gonna do it. And it doesn't really mean that you mean it at that moment
Yeah.
or like in general, but I just think that's kind of your one thing that you always go to is just I'm gonna hurt them with my words.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even think yeah, like you said, I don't mean to. I just think like I feel these things and I've never had to worry about anyone else. So maybe
Yeah.
that's a struggle too, and I'm sure you feel that way too. Like we've I guess like once we moved out, it's been just us. I've only worried about
Hmm.
me. I haven't ever had to worry about someone else essentially like their feelings like that level. Cuz why would I?
Yeah,
I was like
totally.
we wouldn't be together in like a week or like not a week, but we wouldn't be together in like a year anyways. So like what am I
Hmm.
maybe I'm just mean deep down.
I think no, no. I think it's just navigate or not even navigating, but just kind of getting used to the fact that we're not really in the military life anymore. We can make our own
Yes.
decisions now. If we want to stay for as long as we want, we can stay for as long as we want. And it's also both of our first times having someone in our life and having them in our life for a long period of time and kind of thinking I have to take their opinion into account now. Like it's not just me anymore.
Yeah.
It's what they have a say so now too. It's not just my life, it's become our life. And I
Yeah.
think that's a thing that you and I are both kind of struggling with right now.
No, for sure. Because I want to say when I came to college, after my whole life being not controlled, but being told what to do, not just by the military, by my parents, by just everything. I think when I came to college, I was like, this is my time. I'm not listening to
Yeah.
anyone else. Like, it's my opinion. I'm moving when I want to move. I'm doing what I want to do. I will answer to no one. Little do I know, once you get into a relationship, you have to like yet again take their feelings into account. And
Hmm.
yeah, no, that's been really hard for me because I am very opinionated.
I agree. And I think that's for both of us. I feel like we both have very dominant personalities and it's kind of like my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Um, and that definitely does not work with Eric because Eric is also he's very strong headed and very stubborn. And when I tell him it's my way or the highway, he literally laughs in my face and it's like, "Oh, you think that? Like you really think that?"
I'll let you think that.
Yeah, Totally.
He's like, "No dinner for you tonight."
Yeah, and it's okay, then starve, make your own dinner. I'm over in the corner making top ramen, and he's like whipping up steaks and whatever.
No, that's Trent too. I feel like for those who don't know, our boyfriends are very, very easygoing until they're not.
Yeah.
Until you push the right button and it's just like, "Oh, fuck, what did I do?" And
Hmm.
we got very lucky in that department. I'm very thankful because I don't think I could have been with a guy that was probably as opinionated as me.
I agree because I would just butt heads with them all the time, and I would also feel like I don't have a say so, and I definitely need to feel like I have a say so. And I'm sure, honestly, like thinking about it, I'm sure that I feel like I really do think I have like I could tell Eric what to do and he'll do it, but I kind of feel like deep down it's totally the other way around. Like if Eric doesn't want to do it, he's not going to do it, type of thing, you know?
Well, and I feel like that's just a relationship, but this is new. We're both navigating a healthy relationship and everything that
Emphasis on
comes with it.
healthy.
It is very healthy. We both live with our boyfriends. I definitely did
Yeah.
not think we would be here. We both live with our boyfriends. You have a dog with yours.
Wanted to put the emphasis on healthy, especially for me personally, because I know like in my past relationships, I really only count like two other relationships as like actual relationships.
Yeah.
I've definitely had my flings and like my talking stages, my situationships, and all that. But for me, I've only had like two other
Yeah.
real boyfriends, and that was back in high school. And let me tell you, that girl compared to me right now as a girlfriend, holy cow, it is such a difference because one, I would just get mad at my boyfriends all the time. I would be yelling at them for whatever reason. I was always over dramatic and I was extremely toxic. Extremely toxic. And now I feel like I definitely have my toxic moments for sure, but it's nowhere near.
But I think moving forward, I think we're just going to both have to continue to, how do I say this? Find healthy ways to deal with our traumas instead of putting them on our relationships. And I think with
Yeah.
time, we'll learn that. I think it sounds like you've already kind of learned how to navigate like your feelings when it comes to the relationship.
Yeah. Healthy outlets, I think this is what we
Yeah.
should
Thank
call it.
you.
Very healthy
That's a good word.
outlets. To
No, I
kind of
agree.
push that trauma out because I mean it's definitely hard and it's something you that will always be with us I think and it's more of coping with it than kind of
Moving on.
ignoring it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
So kind of thinking about how that plays into our relationships, I kind of wanted to touch base on how it happens for our friendships.
I feel like this is one that when we think about it, it's hard. It's just really hard because I feel like it's all we've ever known. And I don't really know how to like some of the
How
times,
else to
yeah, how
expand?
else
Yeah.
to expand on it. It's just this is all we have ever known. And I think our relationships have been impacted our whole lives because of it. And I just don't it's not like we like came into the military at a later time in life or you know what I mean, vice
Yeah.
versa. I just think that's all we've ever known. So
Mhm.
the only relationships I've ever had any different have been college. And even then,
Yeah.
I've still had fucking my issues.
Yeah. And I think what it is that well, for me personally, I feel like I make friends so easily and super quickly. Like if I make a friend, it's either we're just acquaintances or that friend becomes my best friend for the next year or 6 months or however long that
Yeah.
friendship's going to last, but there's never enough substance to make that friend a long-term friend and then it just falls apart. Like it just like falls through the holes kinds of. And like I don't know if that's just because I'm bad at keeping in touch with them or if it was just the friendship in general just like wasn't meant to be or if it's just because when I feel like the time's up and I'm ready to move on.
No. Oh my god, I totally agree. Oh my god, those friendships that fizzle out. I also think it's like the red flags. I think
Yeah.
we are very very friendly people and I think I don't want to say we're fake at first, but I think we're very just like easygoing and we're like, everything's like, oh, perfect and dandy. And then I feel like we start to like see things and we're just like, that's not what we want in friendships. And I think
Yeah.
I always miscalculate. I still do this to this day. I'll think someone's gonna be my best friend, and then I realize, no, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Unless they're just fake and like I think that they're amazing at first. I don't it's like I got those like friend love goggles on. I just think everything's perfect.
I know. No, no, no. I totally agree with, but I just think that's kind of like just like navigating the friendships. Like I feel like I really just make friends so quickly and I really like latch onto that friendship thinking it's gonna last a while or whatever. And I don't know, like I sometimes I don't even know like how it happened. Like I have some friends like I have some friends in high school where it's just like we were so good, like we were such great friends during high school, and then we just like stopped talking, and it's like there's no bad blood whatsoever. We just like
You just
stopped
fizzled
being
out.
friends.
I'm
Yeah, and I just have no explanation for it, but it's a continuous theme in my friendships, I
I'm
feel like.
almost curious. Maybe it's I want to say is it the same energy they're putting out, but then I'm also like thinking about on our friendship. We've had a lot of ups and downs, but look at us now. I think, well, for sure, you're my longest friend, 7 years, and I almost want to say maybe that's why we're here now. Is because we figured out how we each communicate what works for you, what works for me, and maybe sometimes in those new friendships, you're not as close as you think you are, and you're not
Yeah,
willing to go through that period with them, that rocky period, and like, or you're willing to, and they're not giving you the same energy, and why would you give them that same energy? That's the only thing I can think of.
I agree. I also, yeah, I actually really agree with that. And I'm like trying to think of like other reasons, but really I can't think of anything else because
You
I
start.
feel like, no, I feel like this is like something that I've always struggled with and I've always kind of questioned it and asked about it. And so I've always kind of just, I think I've kind of just come to terms like, oh, I guess it's just me. It's a me problem. Like,
No,
there's
but it
nothing I can do
really
to fix
can't be
it.
because I'm your friend, and maybe we are just really picky. That's what my mom calls us. She says we're very selective with our friends. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
Or
maybe that is what it is, but then I think about it and I'm like, am I really that picky if I'm able to make friends like it's nothing? But maybe it is. Maybe that's just like the aspect of like when like we could be friendly when we choose to be friendly.
no, I agree. I also think I was more friendly when I was younger in like high school and everything because I think I had to be. And I think you've noticed this about me too. The older I'm getting, the more I'm just like, no, I don't look. And I think my temperament's very shifted, and I don't think I'm the way I used to be with people. I'm way more
Mhm.
to like straight to the point, and I think we've kind of
Yeah.
swapped roles a little bit because I think I've become a little bit more like way more guarded than usual and a little bit more mean.
Yeah, we definitely have swapped roles on that aspect because you're very blunt now and very like straight to the point and I feel like that was me in high school. If I didn't like you, I would straight up tell you. I was able to quickly determine that like right off the gate, like as
Yeah.
soon as I met that person, I'd be like, nope, I don't like you. Let's move on. And I feel like now I'm more willing to give people a chance and then wait to see
Maybe I've
what
been
happens.
burned. Maybe I've been burned too much in the last few years. I don't know what it is, or I was always too nice and that got me burned. Like, you know what I mean? I just think that's something that makes sense. I got burned too much, and I think you got criticized for being too mean. And then why did we switch roles? I don't know. I
I
don't
think you're right. I think it was more of like me getting criticized too much. And I feel like it all throughout high school and even like a little bit through college, I was always called a bitch. But I don't know why, because I don't think I'm a
I think
bitch.
it's your
But like,
face. I think you have like a RBF like really bad.
I mean, I definitely do, but like, I don't think, but it's like, dude, just talk to me and then you'll know that I'm not a bitch. And then we could possibly be friends if I would like, if I want it to go farther. But I think I don't know. I think I'm the same way. I feel like I've been burned a little too many times because I'm definitely not as friendly as I used to be, and I'm definitely not as willing to get to know people as I used to. Like I felt like I was very much an open book. You ask me any question, I'll tell you
Yeah, no.
anything.
Well, now I
And
don't.
yeah, and now I'm just like, I who are you? Like why are you asking me? Why do you want to know? And
Right?
stuff
I
like
I think maybe we are just burnt out. I want to say we have lived more lives than most people have in their like 40s, 50s. Do you know what I'm saying? I just think
yeah.
we have done it for so long, and the fact that we don't have to make friends now. If I don't want to be a friend with somebody, I don't have to be. I'm not writing on this friendship, and that's really shitty to
Yeah.
say that, but I'm not. I don't need to be a friend with you. I have my friends. I'm done with
Yeah.
that. I It's not like I'm going to high school and I need a friend. I'm just going to sit by myself. I'm not. So
Yeah. I
maybe
think
that's what it is.
I also think what it is I think you and I are both extremely content with where we are in our lives. I
Maybe
think
that's
we're
why.
very content with the people that we have around us and I feel like you and I both feel very supported and very happy with the people in our lives right now,
I
whether
agree.
it be you and I or like our boyfriends or like our other very supportive friends. And I think that's another thing that we learned is like we really don't need to have 10 million friends to feel how we're feeling right now.
Gosh, relationships. But yeah, no, that's all I can
You
say.
know.
I think we're just burnt out, and that's fine. But I know if we had to, we would make friends.
Yeah. I mean if our life is dependent on it, I would
Well,
I would trust us to be the only people to
I
make friends out of everybody if our lives depended on
right?
it.
I think it's just so funny though, because I feel like people who don't know me, they'll come and talk to me, and then they'll be like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm not from here." And then it opens a whole can of worms. I also feel like
No.
I don't want to dive that deep, and it's just like it's not a simple response. So it's not like I'm just like, "Hell, I'm from here." It's like, no, I'm from all these places, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, "Do you really want to hear my life story?" Because I really don't want to give it to you, unless I come up with
Yeah.
like a persona, but I don't want to do that.
I know. I think what it is also is like just us like not wanting it's not like us not wanting to put in the effort, but I think knowing that it's like if this friendship's not going to go anywhere, what's the point of even trying? Like, I think we need to see the effort being put in first from that
Hmm.
person rather than us constantly putting in the work because I feel like that's something that we have always done
Yep.
since like you and I could both remember is it was always us like all the time, always texting the person to hang out or like whatever it may be, like approaching that person first and then continuously always having to approach that person first.
No, I agree.
So
Well, and I feel like people aren't like that anymore. I don't know what it is. I think times have changed. I feel like this is really shitty to say, but I feel like I saw more effort from like a second grader when I was friends with one than like I see in a
yeah.
person our age now, and I don't know why. And I'm not going to put more effort into a relationship. I don't care. I just genuinely don't care enough to do that.
No,
It's not
I agree.
beneficial to us at all to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you and I have both learned. It's like if they're not going to be willing to put in that energy, why should you be willing to put in that energy too?
I agree.
It's not fair. It's not fair on both parties, like not at all.
I do have a question. Do you think it is easier to be friends with someone that is affiliated with the military versus someone that isn't? Or no? Like, what's your
I say
perspective on
yeah.
that? Yeah.
I think it's way easier because as soon as they say, "Oh, my dad was in the military," or "My mom was in the military," or whatever it may be, I feel like I instantly already have a connection with that person. And it's like, oh, so they can understand, they're able to relate to me
Yeah.
and like kind of how I've lived my life. And also, it kind of, I also make the relationship where it's like, oh, maybe their parents were strict as mine were too. And we could also talk about that type of thing.
Oh,
So,
it just gives you a lot of talking points, essentially.
yeah, yeah. I don't
No,
know.
I
What
guess
about you? What do you say?
oh my god, I guess that makes sense. I like I don't know why I think about it, but then I never really thought about it, and then it just popped in my head. And I was like, now hearing,
Yeah,
it, I'm like, actually, it does make way more sense because someone who doesn't relate has no idea what we're talking about. Like, feel like still to this day, Trent will ask me a question, and I'm like, huh? You won't get it. You don't get it. And just leave me
I
alone.
know.
Like, I don't.
I
Sometimes I
know.
just don't want
Yeah.
to explain.
I know. Or like and it's like also like when somebody like kind of like shits on the military.
Oh,
Oh my god, that like sets me off. Like I
yeah, no,
swear. I'm like, first of all, get the fuck out of my sight right now because who
right,
are you to be talking shit on the military? Like you know nothing. Like do you have firsthand experience? Like it literally sets me off. Like I that's
right.
like the one thing that I can't deal with. And like so if like my partner like ever said something like that, that's like an automatic like, no.
No, I agree.
Sorry. You're done.
Anyone that says that, even if I hear a random saying that, I just be dogging them afterwards. I'm like, huh? Do you want to talk? Do you want me to call my
Yeah.
dad up? Do you want him to yell at you? Because he will.
I know, but it's just like I don't know. It's just like, dude, put some respect on their name, please.
No, I
Okay,
agree.
well, kind of just thinking about us in high school, I kind of want to touch base on our friendship because I know
Yeah.
we've both we've both gone through such ups and downs, and I'm sure majority of them were kind of on my part because that sounds like a me thing,
Well, not a now thing, an old thing.
an old
Um,
me thing. Yes,
well, it was rocky, but we were teenagers. Like how I don't blame us. And I look back and I was like, it was probably so stupid. I mean, I think we went like almost a whole school year without talking though.
I think, and that was like junior year, and I really can't remember why that even
It was
was
probably
it.
something so dumb, and I regret that though. That's the only thing I regret though is not putting a squash to it like earlier
Till
because
the end of the year.
and then we had that summer and then like I got in trouble and then we didn't have senior year together. So it's like we really missed out on like a whole year together because of just probably something so petty and it was like I said something to hurt your feelings or vice versa and then we were like, well then let's not be friends.
Yeah. I
Which
think that's yeah. Like I just feel like whenever we got into a fight, it was always such a war with words. It was a word war.
no, it was. I think because
Where
of the way we were brought up, I think we like we said, not I think that's my personality and I think back then you were very much like that. You've gotten better with, like, you would
Yeah.
I would say something and then you would, like, go crazy at me,
Yeah.
and then it would be
I
never
think
ending.
yeah, I think that's one thing that I've kind of grown out of is hurting people with my words because I know that I used to do it constantly all the time and it wouldn't even be like it wouldn't even just escalate. Like it wouldn't be like, oh, one step, two step. No, it was just straight A to Z. Like I was all the way up here. I gave nobody like no warning or anything. I was just like, oh, you want to say that one hurtful thing to me, and then
You're
I
like,
would just flip
"I will
out.
end you."
Yeah, and that's usually what would happen.
Oh my
But
goodness. But I the thing is though, I can't remember anything you've said. So I'm like, "Jeez." I
I
don't
know I
even
can't really
know.
remember anything I said either. I can't. And I feel like I can't really remember a lot of our fights.
I think it was yeah, I think it was just hard. I think we also had a different set of friends. Like you and me,
Yeah,
we met initially and we were always partners in crime. I think no matter what, I think I just want to say this. I hope this was our mindset back then that like if something did happen, we would be there for one another. I would like to
yeah,
believe that we thought that, but there's a part of me that thinks we were just like so stubborn. We were like, no, fuck her. I'm not.
yeah.
But we're gonna be optimistic and say it was the other way. But
No,
anyway.
and I really do think it was the other way around. Because honestly, like when I think about it, it's like, yeah, like when we were at the points of us not talking, I feel like it was still a very mutual thing
Yeah.
that it's I'm still going to be there for you. You're still going to be there to me or there for me. But it just was never spoken. And it also, there was never a reason for us. Like that never happened. Like it never got to that point where it's like, I need to step in and actually become her friend again.
No, because I feel
But
like we said, we were always on house arrest. What were we even doing? Like we weren't doing
yeah,
anything. But I
exactly.
guess like I was saying, we were a part of different groups afterwards. Like Juliana was on the cheer team. She had like that group of friends, like cheerleaders, football players. She was doing her own thing. And then I kind of just met other people and like I hung out with them. But the school was so small. So it's not like I wouldn't see her. I had classes with her. So it's like I think we had classes at least every
We
semester, at least one class. So we've gone through
like,
like phases where we would just like be giving dirty stares in like a math class or something.
oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, I would love to talk about math class. I just remember this one scenario of I was just like, God, I hate Chloe so much. Like I'm so mad at her. And I would literally throw nerds at her across the classroom. And I would just
Right in my
bonk
head.
her on the
Guys,
head.
I'm over here trying to be a scholar. I'm like learning my exponents, and then all of a sudden I just feel like things plumping me in the head, and I look over and she's just laughing. Like was like, what is happening? We weren't even like we were mad at each other, mind you. And even at this point, our teacher she would have us sitting across the room because I think she just knew. She knew deep down. She was like, they are still like they're just weird. I don't know what they are, but like, oh my
Mhm.
god, that's such a vivid memory. Just getting freaking
I know.
nerds thrown at my head in a math class. Like for what? Please tell me why.
I don't even remember why, but I just remember thinking that was like the funniest thing in the world.
I guess as you can tell, I think we had a lot of like there's a lot of toxic stuff going on in high school. But we were just going through a lot of like I don't even know
Changes, ups and
changes. I
downs.
just think it is a lot
Like,
of change. And I also feel like it looking back now, I think it was really hard for me to be like I've never had a friend like that I was so close with. And I think maybe a part of me now looking back was just like pushing you away and probably vice versa. It was like we are getting too close too fast. Like
yeah.
this is gonna hurt when we have to leave. And
Yeah.
I
I've
actually
actually
I
never
never
thought about
thought about that until right just right now. Wow, look at me go. Yeah, actually that makes a lot more sense why we were probably always like that. And it was
that.
like you would say one thing and I was like, you know what, we're done. And I think that's always how we've always been, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and I feel like you were more of the reconciler. Is that how you say it? Reconciler?
Yeah,
Like you would
I
always be the
always
one to
yeah,
come and reconcile.
because
Like
you weren't gonna do it. She was too
I
stubborn. So someone
I
had
was
to.
way too stuck. And so Chloe was always the person to have to come and bring us back together because I was way too stubborn and I'd be like, nope, I
Well,
can
but
I'm
then
gonna I'm gonna last as long as I can.
but then right when I would say, "Can we be friends again?" She's like, "Yeah, okay, let's go hang out." Like automatically,
I'm
look
dead
at
ass.
us, look at
I
us.
was like I was probably like, oh my god, I've been waiting for this, please and thank you.
Well, look at
Yeah,
us,
I
guys.
think
We made it through.
I know. And I think our one biggest fight was probably just that junior year. I mean, senior year, you and I still didn't even talk that much, but it wasn't even because there was bad blood. There was like no bad blood
No,
during
I
senior
just
year.
knew.
I think it was just because yeah, you had just moved and we were like, you were starting your own life at a different high school, and I was still,
Yeah. Well,
finishing out mine. And
whenever I'd visit, I would hang out with you too. And then like obviously it came to a point when we both graduated and then you like moved to a different state and I moved to Fresno, like what we talked about. Um
yeah, I know now that I think about it, we never even like said goodbye. I feel like
no, my mom literally like uprooted me.
I know. Well, according to your mom, that was your choice and your
It was
idea.
my choice. Okay, well I guess for people who haven't listened to the last one, um we had like a it wasn't even a party.
The infamous party.
It was like we'll call it the infamous party, but it was a party of 3 and oh my goodness. So my parents go out of town. I'm able to stay home. I asked the girls like, "Hey, let's drink." My dad had like a little keg. It's like they were asking for it to happen. I don't know why they think that we weren't gonna do anything bad. You leave me home alone for a whole
I
weekend,
know.
but I got caught or whatever. So then I had to move to my dad's my senior year of high school, which was very hard for me because that was a huge transition. That was like probably the hardest transition I've ever had. Um, so like I guess we'll go back a little bit. She sent me away because I like to do this thing when I was a kid and it got me out of everything. It was more of a like, oh, I got in trouble. I'm like, okay, well fine, I want to live with my dad. And it got me
Oh
out
my
of
god, I would always do that
yes.
too.
It got me out of everything. And one day I say it at the wrong time and she's like, "You know what? Then you're fucking going to your dad's." And I was like, "Nope, nope, 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 nope." And she like you saw her during that point. She did not let up. She
She
was
was not playing.
no, she was not playing. I remember like I was so devastated. Like I did not think she was actually going to do it to me.
Like, I'm pretty sure I even called your mom,
No,
and
I'm
I was
sure.
like, please don't. Like, I'm like convinced that I actually like called your mom. Was like, don't do this. Like,
No,
this
I'm
is a big
sure.
mistake.
Like why
And
would
then she
you do
was,
that?
I know, and I think she was like, nope, you guys are both too much.
You're
Like, you
out of
guys together
control.
are just too much. She's gotta go.
You're out of
She's gotta go.
She's got to go. Okay, so then fast forward, I end up moving to my dad's. Mind you, this is like the first time I've ever lived with my dad. Like, obviously, since I was a
Yeah.
baby. And that,
Because you said that like what the first time like you haven't seen him since eighth grade, and then eighth grade you hadn't seen him since you moved back there.
like, 29 Palms. No, I saw him like in between 29 Palms, but
Oh,
it wasn't like consistent. I think between 8th grade and senior year, I think I only saw him like maybe like less than like 10 times and we were a 2 hour radius. I feel like that just says a lot. So the fact that she actually made me move, I was like, oh, this is not happening. So hard for me. My relationship with my dad, that was the hardest thing to like come back from. And I'm sure he'd feel the same way. It was very challenging. Like I was not a boy, mind you. Probably would have been easier.
mhm.
I was a girl, a teenage girl. Never lived with my
Yeah,
dad. He probably had no idea what to do with me.
I know.
I was just
And like
there.
just think about it too. It's almost like you're gonna go live with like a distant relative. Like you're about to go live with like your uncle or
And I feel so bad saying that because now, because we're way closer than that now, but that's definitely how I felt. I felt so out of pocket for so long when I was there. It took me months to just be like acclimated. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like,
yeah, and
because
to like feel comfortable
yes,
like it was your own home. Yeah,
and it's like I lived my whole life with like my mom and my stepdad and my other siblings, and then I live with my dad, my stepmom, and they had like a baby at that time. I think she just was about to be a year old. Like, what a
yeah.
big transition.
It was just like a giant transition for you, and I kind of feel like that's kind of where we kind of just like kind of got our distance
Yeah,
until we started talking again back in what I think I want to say that was our sophomore year in college is like when we
yeah.
actually kind of started talking again.
Which is really crazy because I feel like every time we've talked, though, it's not like there's ever been distance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like you
it's
would never
always
know. You would never know.
yeah. It was always like we just picked up right where we left off. Like I think I don't even remember like how we started talking again sophomore year. I'm sure it was probably you who reached out because the trends.
Probably.
Um,
Well, yeah, because I was gonna move there. So I came to visit you. Remember that? We
I
like
know, but it's like but like how did you even come to visit me? Like because we hadn't talked at all that freshman year, so it's like
I
when
think
did we even?
I think we were talking. I think we were talking more than you think we were. I think, but it wasn't consistent. Like now we talk every single day.
Oh
But I think back
yeah,
then, I think I would like we'd FaceTime every now and then, and like you would tell me like what's been going on in your life, and like vice versa. Like I feel like I was pretty updated. But then at that point, like you had your like closer friends, and then I had like my friend group, and then I think your friendship ended a little bit, and then mine kind of was getting really bad, and I was like, you know what,
Yeah.
I need my person. I think our mentalities were both. It was like the same time frame too, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We
Like I think we're kind of just like magnets.
No, we really are. Like when I'm feeling one way, you start feeling that. We're very like
Just
we have to be in the same wave. Like I can't imagine like if I had like a good group of friends and you didn't, I don't think we would ever be like that. I don't know why. I think we're very in sync.
I think you and I are also very in sync. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it is, but
No,
I
it's
think
very
we're
much
just like
like that.
oh man.
Like you get a serious boyfriend, I get a serious boyfriend. You get that,
Yeah.
I get
And it
that.
was like it was very much like one after the other. It was like kind of my friendship started falling off and then yours started happening and
Yeah,
then I got a long-term boyfriend and then you got a long-term
I
boyfriend and then
know.
now they're pretty much exactly in
But it was
sync.
never planned. I don't know what it is. I feel like maybe just mentally, I feel like we were always on the same page even if we weren't talking, and I don't know why that is. Gosh,
Mhm.
maybe we are soulmates. I'm gonna say this every episode. I think we are. I don't know what it is, guys.
I would say we are.
Because we're on this topic of relationships, I definitely would say, oh, I hate to say this, but I think we have a very, very like unique bond. Like it's very unique, and it's something like I probably will never come across again.
I agree. I and for me it's so hard to explain like our relationship to like anybody else or like our friendship to anybody else. Like even with Eric, sometimes I don't even have the words to explain it to
Yeah,
him
no,
and I'm
I
just like, "This
agree.
is how it is." Like you just got to deal.
You no,
Like
you do.
sorry.
Because I also just feel like I don't think anything will break us because of how much we've gone through in 7 years and how most of our relationship has been via long distance, and
Mhm.
we just continued to grow the whole time. There's never been like a
Yeah.
point where we were just like actually like we can never be friends again. Like we've always just been there, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I I just feel like it's
And
so hard to explain.
actually I think like now that I'm thinking about it, I think what it is. Oh, actually, I don't want to say that. I was gonna say maybe it's a trauma bond because ever since like high school, like it was
Oh,
always just you and I against the world, and it's like very much you and I went through very similar experiences with our parents and the parenting style of like kind of feeling alienated because we weren't able to do the social things that our friends were able to do.
I do agree
Like,
with that though. I don't think that's bad to say. I maybe that does make way more sense. There is a trauma bond. I guess with that being said, I feel like that's been a very in-depth version of our perceptions on all of our relationships throughout the
yeah,
years.
yeah. And we just wanted to thank you all for listening to our podcast.
Yeah, and once again, if there's anything you want us to share, talk about, please
Mhm.
DM us at Military Brats Podcast with your inquiries. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. See you next Wednesday.
Yes.